Hey, welcome to Twin Flames Live. It's our brand new talk show that happens in the Twin Flames universe open forum. I'm Jeff, I'm your host. We have our special guest with us here today, Marlee, who is going to be talking to us and sharing with us a great opportunity to dive deeply in the healing work that we do in every TFAS class, that we do in my new live classes that are private and unrecorded. But this is a cool way that we can come to you live for free. I can connect with you either by you becoming one of my live guests like Marlee is today. And also, we're going to be taking questions, comments. Feel free. I'm here. I got my screen over here in the Twin Flames Universe Open Forum. So if you're commenting questions when it comes time to open up questions, I'm going to see that. And I'm going to be able to connect with you. So this will be uploaded. Hi, YouTube. Uploaded to YouTube every week. But if you want to come and be with us live, it's 11:30 a.m. on Thursdays, every Thursday live in the Twin Flames Universe Open Forum on Facebook. If you don't have a Facebook account, just create a free one. Come on in, check it out, hang out live. We're going to have a great time every single week. And here's Shaleia backstage, my beautiful wife and twin flame. Oh, hi.
I'm so proud of this.
Yay. And now I got a little kiss here for you. I'm still gonna wipe that off. Okay, there she goes. So we're in our temporary office right now while our main office is getting renovated. So we'll have our new live offices soon. Uh-oh, did we lose the feed here on Facebook? It stopped. So we're just getting situated through all that. No, we're good. So all the new technical difficulties, making sure everything's in good order. This is our very first episode, and we're just going to continue to evolve this and see where it goes. So Marlee, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I'm glad to have you here. Are you ready to do some deep inner work and heal blocks and do the work that we always do?
Yes, I got my tissues.
Got your tissues. Okay. Great. Well, we may or may not cry. It's okay if you do, it's okay if you don't. But the important thing here is that we're present, we're honest, and you look at your feelings and you ask your questions authentically. So you're a graduate of Twin Flame Ascension School recorded classes. Mm-hmm. So this is nothing new to you. This is business as usual. And I guess we could just get right into it, yeah?
Sure.
Great. So did you come with some questions that stuff you wanted to work on today?
Yeah, well, I asked a question like, what are your advice/insights for people who have a twin flame with a mental illness, or like I know someone with a mental illness?
Yeah, I think this is great. This is what I anticipated talking, about on this, in this episode 1 is twin flames with a mental illness. Your twin flame is diagnosed with schizophrenia?
Yeah, more specifically schizoaffective disorder, which is like there's like schizophrenia and then bipolar disorder, and it's like right in the middle. So, yeah.
Okay. Do you want to talk more about what that is?
Yeah. Basically, like if you're not getting treatment, if you're not like going to your therapist, getting on meds, and keeping up with like taking care of yourself, like you can go into psychosis, which basically for people with schizoaffective disorder, that means they can hear things that aren't there, see things that aren't there, and smell things that aren't there a lot. And it kind of varies for people, like how they'll react. But for Josh, what he's experienced is like just a lot of fear coming up. Basically, like I feel like he's trapped like in a trauma when he's in psychosis, and it's like pretty hard to communicate with him and like reason with him and like express like logical solutions to things. So that's what
it's not a logical thing that he's like lodged into.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this. Is a great opportunity for everyone to get my spiritual perspective as a spiritual healer on mental health, and in your case, specifically. So I think what I'd like to do is give you some. So first of all, we're not medical professionals. We do not purport to be. We don't diagnose, treat, or we don't diagnose or treat any diseases or anything like that. So we're not medical professionals. We're just spiritual people approaching this from a spiritual perspective. And we highly recommend you work with your medical professional on any medical issues, all that disclaimer stuff. So that being said, in my experience and in creating the mind alignment process and now seeing, what was it, 95% of all participants after 1 year of the MAP program are experiencing no symptoms of trauma a year later. So, and that's the result of my spiritual work and my spiritual healing and the alternative healing modality that I've created. So what I'm communicating to you is I'm not a doctor, but I probably might know something. So you might try to take what I know into account and explore that line of thinking and see if it can help you. But don't throw out the medical stuff. So big, heavy disclaimer at this, but at the same time, that allows us to explore this in a public forum and give everyone the opportunity to try on different ideas and hopefully give you an opportunity to see Josh's mental illness from a different perspective that should not in any way conflict with Western medicine, and hopefully can help you to cope with what he's going through, and maybe give you some tools to help you support him and help you work through your experience of him having episodes and helping him with what he's going through.
Sounds awesome. Thank you.
Great. You're welcome. Well, that's why we're here, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this is a really big, bold first episode. We're not diving into it gently. We're diving right in all the way very deep. And that's how I like to live. Good. So tell me more about his disorder, or just give me another rundown through it and I'll, give you the spiritual perspective.
Yeah. So like the thing that's difficult with like dealing with someone in psychosis is like there's a lot of fear coming up within them, and then like I get really scared and I'm like, what do I do?
So he's got a powerful like vortex that he's like amping up when he goes into an episode.
Yeah.
And he doesn't listen to logic and he doesn't listen to solutions. He just needs to express himself, basically.
Yeah.
But he's also expressing and cultivating, it seems, a whole lot of fear when he goes into an episode.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and you're sometimes, or maybe every time, you get wrapped up into his fear because you don't feel like you have any control, and then he takes you along with him.
Yeah. Been getting better, but yes.
So your job as someone who does not have the psychosis and someone who's supporting him with a mental illness is to not get wrapped up into the psychosis.
Yeah.
If he can't be reasoned with, well, stop trying to reason with him. Is there anything that does work?
Well, sometimes like I usually like taking space helps, like because like it's when people around him, like there's like an automatic fear that they're trying to hurt him, and that's like I'm usually around him and he usually thinks they're to hurt him. So like taking space and also like meditating for me helps, and done like ohms, that helps too. Just like grounding stuff so I can get out of the fear like in my head and come back to like reality, which is like also like I've noticed helps him ground too.
So his psychosis is a warping of reality.
Yeah.
When he has an episode, and your job is to remain in reality when he's in a warped sense of reality. What is there any? Because I find it hard to believe that there's nobody home at all when he's going through psychosis. And later on, what does he say? How does he describe his psychosis later on?
Like, well, we both like know it's like not him, like saying the things he says, like I know like he's in there. It's just like a big wall, in front of him of his true self, it feels like.
So later on, he doesn't want to take responsibility for what he's doing, or his, he wants to say that it's the mental disorder, which is not me, and this is the real me. So it sounds like he's further disassociating from that experience.
Okay, yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Which is probably a pretty effective coping mechanism, so that he doesn't have to, he can segment off that part of himself, say it's over there, and say, look, this is normal me, this is who I really am. I'm not in control over there, so don't hold me responsible for that.
Yeah, that's not gonna help, really.
But I would suggest, and this is something very bold, and that I think that most medical professionals would completely disagree with, or mostly disagree with, and I could be wrong, but I would suggest that this is something that can be healed.
Yeah, I
This is
believe
something that can be worked through and resolved. And this is not something that you're gonna, not with my healing modality, that you're gonna snap your fingers and suddenly gonna be better. It's a process of working at it. And I would also, from my spiritual perspective, suggest that this is a teaching opportunity. I thought I turned my phone off. I literally have it on airplane mode. This is such a cool opportunity to heal. And if you're looking at this from a spiritual perspective, if you're looking at this from the laws of karma and reincarnation, there's a reason he has this ailment. And there is a lesson here for him to master. And this ailment is a result of his karma. And so it's at the same time an opportunity for him to heal his patterns. So if you have a mental illness this intense, it's because you have an intense pattern that creates it. And so you could heal it like this if you stop doing the pattern. But there's a reason you're working that pattern over and over again. You're getting something from it. And I know Josh, reasonably well. He's been around my community for some time. And I've had some time to talk to him. He was in live TFAS classes with you. I've seen him around the forum. I've interacted with him many times. I know him. I have a little more insight personally into him than just what you're telling me. And I have personal experience seeing his mental illness. And it's happening all the time, not just when he's having an episode. I see that it's an episode is really just the head of what he'd been building up all along.
Yeah.
So it's not just in that moment when he's going crazy, when he has an issue. That's just when he's unreachable, or mostly unreachable.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So what I see, and we'll just dig into this and from every perspective and every available tool that we have, is that Josh wants to feel good. And he knows himself as someone who can feel really good. And he demands that he feel good as much as possible. And he refuses to feel bad. And that is a really healthy and powerful mentality to have. And that is who Josh knows himself to be, is a healthy and powerful individual. And when he encounters thoughts or experiences that tell him he's not, he disassociates from them and says, I don't want that. I'm going to continue to move toward the thing that makes me feel good, that makes me feel powerful, that integrates into my spiritual understanding, which has become warped through these episodes where his brain gets warped and he starts to hear and see and taste and smell things that don't actually exist. But I would suggest that even though his brain is, there's a reason that his brain is doing this. And my understanding would suggest that his brain is creating this as a result of something deeper. His brain is serving him by creating these hallucinations to further his patterns agenda. And what he doesn't realize, and this is the part where you can work on it, is, hey, this is pretty good, huh?
Yeah.
What he doesn't realize is that you can peel this apart, that he can still be powerful, and he can start to recognize when he's feeding the pattern and recognize that that pattern is actually what makes him miserable. So this mental illness that he has, it's diagnosed and treatable, and I highly suggest that you continue Western treatment. It's not in any way harming him. And it gives him the opportunity to calm things down and work on the pattern. And you can consult, and he can consult and work with his doctor on that level of treatment. But where Western medicine falls short is where I'm stepping in here. And I hope that you're aware that I have a high degree of respect for Western medicine, and it does help, and you can use it to help you. I think it's really silly if you wouldn't use Western medicine as a tool in your healing toolkit. And I think it's really silly if you wouldn't have a doctor to help you through, especially the more challenging issues that, an enormous amount of resources has gone into helping people with. Now, like I said, I don't think that, and Western medicine will tell you this, that Western medicine has all the answers, because it'll tell you it does not have all the answers. I think it gets really upset at spirituality or spiritual healing, when spiritual healing tries to take the place of Western medicine or stand between a person and Western medicine and say that Western medicine isn't effective at all, because that's untrue. And we have actually laws that prevent you from doing that. And these are laws that you're witnessing me navigate, as I say. But regardless, I would still act the same way with or without laws. And I'd have the same opinions on the matter, that Western medicine is helpful, and where it falls short or where it doesn't cover, we can approach it with this spiritual awareness and this spiritual healing modality.
Yeah, like we've had really a lot of success with like medications, like helping him
Good.
around, and I know therapy has helped me a ton, and therapy has helped him just start to open up. So it's so important. So important.
Good. Well, you can use the mirror exercise, and you can use this spiritual education that you've given yourself to help him as well. Yeah. And that's the part that we're here to talk to today. Not just talk about how wonderful Western medicine is, but also offer an alternative healing, and so that you can have a harmonious union with your twin flame, so that you can enjoy life together.
Yeah.
Because your relationship otherwise is pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. We get each other like no one else.
Yeah, beautiful. But this disorder is hugely in the way of your lives. And I don't know, the God I know does not put a block in your way and say, this is forever, you're fucked.
Yep.
The God I know says, this is in your way, but I will move it. No matter how scary, no matter how impossible, no matter what everyone in the world or and no matter what people are saying, the God I know says this can change, that he is bigger than this problem. That's the God I know. And that's the God who has spoken life into my life, into my work, and worked miracles consistently in my life story and in the life stories of my students who receive this teaching. And that's the essence of what we have here, is a teaching. So are you ready to dive a little deeper into the healing?
Yes.
Great. This is good stuff.
Yeah.
Good. So my job here is to point out the spiritual lesson so that you can work the process of learning the lesson and mastering the lesson, which I believe will result in his complete and total healing. And then you guys can move on with your life. But you can't really move on much with your life, at least the main portion of it, until this is fixed. How are you going to have a family, a healthy, stable life, relationship, anything, if he's constantly going off and into episodes?
Yeah.
You have a dependent rather than a partner, which you both know you deserve partnership here. So all of it stems from one thing. And it's a belief that Josh's good and can come from fear, can come from anxiety. And it's reinforced because whenever he follows this pattern, which is all the time, he gets to live in this false reality where he has everything he wants. But he pays for it with being deluded all the time and experiencing really intense episodes of complete delusion that even Western medicine would be like, yeah, you're deluded here, bro.
Yeah.
And it's the intense pursuit of that that is the cause of his suffering and unhappiness. And his pursuit of joy is what ego has hijacked and turned him just slightly away, just a very subtle and slight turn from his pursuit of joy to the pursuit of fear. And it's an active pursuit. It's an active pattern. Don't worry, this is no different in my experience of healing than any other pattern that anyone else has. This one's just pretty obvious and pronounced to everyone around him. So you're a certified Ascension coach?
Yes.
Okay, so you know how to guide people through the mirror exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had a cat?
I do.
You have a cat, so you
Yeah.
know how cats work. Can you tell a cat what to do?
Nope.
It's always a negotiation, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you negotiate with your cat. You're like, hey, don't do that. And the cat's like, I kind of wanna.
Yeah.
You gotta like incentivize them, or you know, it's a conversation. Well,
Yeah.
if you don't do that, you could be doing this over here. What's that? That's interesting, right? And obviously, like Josh is not a cat. He's the highest form of creation in creation.
Yeah.
But we can use these same principles. You're not gonna if cat is, you know, keeps jumping up on the plant and eating it, you're not gonna like stop cat from doing that if it loves to do that. But you can gently direct the cat away from that pattern of eating the plant. You could squirt the cat. That might work in this circumstance. It's not going to work with Josh. If you squirt him, he's just going to go deeper into his episode, right? If you try to control him in any way, he's going to go deeper into his episode, right?
Yeah.
So
That's right.
he's, and this is also an effort to not be controlled. Josh is pretty mastered spiritually in a lot of ways, and that's what makes this very difficult to approach, because he knows in his logical and in his experiential mind that he's right. We got Charlie as a guest over here. He's a fluffy little dog. Josh knows he's right. And he knows he's right that for you to not control him. It feels better that you don't control him.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he knows, well, I'm not supposed to be doing this, having this episode right now. It feels good just to have it. It feels good to be right.
Mm.
It's about approaching him from what he's getting, right? What are his resources? What is he getting from doing these things? And if you follow the money, everything always makes total sense. All you ever have to do is follow the money and look at who's at play here. And there's only two beings ever at play: ego and delusion, suffering, fear, and pain, and or God, joy, peace, heaven, perfection, divinity. And they sometimes appear to be the same thing. If you're not mastered in seeing the difference, then you're always going to get suffering. And so Josh is mastered to a certain point, but he's not mastered enough to know the difference between suffering and joy, because suffering is painful and pain is the opposite of pleasure. So when you experience more pain, you're creating pleasure.
Mm.
And that is incentivizing. It's suffering and it's misery, but you're getting that shot of pleasure for the pain.
Like
So it's an addiction. Exactly. So Josh actually is addicted to something.
Mm-hmm.
This is the deeper thing. So as we continue to move through the layers of his mind, and we can see it through your own experience, now we can approach it at the core. You don't have any power out here. And that's what the pattern wants you to feel is powerless.
Yeah.
We want you to go to a place where you're empowered. Charlie says so too.
Thank you.
He wants his presence to be known. He's a big floofy boy. He's come to be part of the show. Charlie, are you gonna be here with us? You got a job here.
I want to see.
How else are you gonna get paid?
Hi, Charles.
He gets those treats, but he's not gonna get any treats if he's not showing up to work. All right, you lie down, buddy. You hold space for us. Lie down, Charles. He's a little bit of a princess ham sometimes. There's probably people here as contractors. He's excited to hang out and be merry. So the purpose here is to bring you to a place where you feel more empowered in your relationship with Josh and in dealing with his mental illness. And like I said, all you need to do is follow the money, or, you know, more accurately, follow the flow of good, or the flow of energy. And money is, you know, a representative of that good energy, but it's something beneath that that's more valuable. It's the good energy.
Yeah.
And Josh is getting a lot of good energy from his episodes, from his mental health issue.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm. That's hidden.
Yeah, because like he gets all this support like after.
Sure.
And
That's part of it. That's not the real thing. It's not the support that he's after. He's not after that.
Okay.
Josh is after spiritual energy.
That makes sense.
It's a spiritual high. It's something subtler.
Okay.
He's not trying to get everyone. The support is, I think he probably feels ashamed about that he has to have all the support, because what he really wants is a spiritual energy. And he knows he's supposed to be able to commune with God and be filled up inside.
Yeah.
And this is something, you know, being a yogi, being a monk, being someone who's spent a lot of time meditating, doing a lot of spiritual practices, probably being a shaman in a past life, exploring psychedelics, being involved with, you know, drugs in this lifetime. There's a high he's after, and it fills him up inside. It satisfies him. It speaks to him. It all makes perfect sense. The problem is how he goes about getting that, and he goes about using drugs and this mental disorder to get it. And he also recognizes that he wants help, and so that's why he's, you know, in a relationship with you, and he tolerates you hanging out and helping him, and he goes to therapy sometimes and sees his doctor. He recognizes that there's something off here and that he does need help. He's well convinced that it makes sense and what he's doing doesn't make sense. But there's a deeper part of him that's absolutely not convinced, because he doesn't get this high anywhere else. And that high feels amazing, and that's what he lives for.
Okay.
So your job is to show him that his pursuit of his method for pursuing that high is unhealthy. And that you'll also alternatively at the same time, because if you shut him off from that high, he's just going to be miserable. He's done this as a result of, well, this is the only thing that makes me happy. The long, deep, thick pattern. The only thing that's going to make him happy is to be filled up inside sustainably, instead of the pursuit of this high that causes enormous sickness in all areas of his life that he needs to probably take responsibility for, and that you, as someone who loves him and cares about him, can gently point out that no, that was you did that, even though that's not, you know, current you. That is still you, even if you're emotionally and psychologically deeply disturbed. And it's this disturbance that you're cultivating all day that culminates in these episodes.
Yeah.
It's also an emotional disorder, right? I think Western medicine will tell you that too.
Yeah. Yeah, like just bottling everything up, basically.
Well, cultivating that is his active daily pursuit
Oh.
builds that.
Yeah, there's a difference.
This is why I have him blocked on Facebook, because I know him being around me just accelerates and exacerbates his, being around me online exacerbates his psychosis. Being around me in person, he was, there in Toronto, and he seemed like chill, mellow guy in a really healthy environment, was like, maybe a little shy, sweet, innocent, but that healthy environment helped him to calm down. Well, how was he? You were with him for like a week in Toronto, or how or so?
Yeah, like we were really good. Like he felt like there's no like um he was having a hard time. He was like sick. Like he threw up a couple times.
Okay.
But yeah,
Other than
like
that,
psychosis or
no
anything.
psychosis at all?
Mm, no. Like
Okay.
there was arguments. There was upset.
Well,
Yeah.
arguments, but as far as his mental disorder, it wasn't really flaring up in Toronto.
No.
And how was it after Toronto? How long before he had another big episode?
Like a week. It
Took a
was,
week.
yeah, it was like a big contrast, I think. And
How often does he normally have episodes?
um like it could be like a couple times a month, or like sometimes it feels like he's been in an episode for a couple days to a week,
Wow.
which is pretty hard.
So
Yeah.
you guys are currently living separately,
Yeah. Yeah.
which you said space is helpful for his mental state.
Yes. Which is like
So
something that I'm upset about, I think.
sure, we'll look at that.
Yeah.
So it's important that you follow God's way here, that you trust that God has his healing and it's only God who can heal him, and that God wants him to be healed, and that God is showing you the way to his healing.
Yeah.
So a healthy environment is something really powerful that helps him. So being around people who didn't judge him, who didn't play into his psychological pattern, these things were beneficial to his mental state.
Yeah.
And then coming back a week later, the contrast was pretty huge and he had an episode, which indicates to me that maybe he got back home, realized that the situation changed, the resources changed, and now he needs to, quickly find that high again. Otherwise, he's going to feel really sad.
Yeah, like
And
that's a thing with like psychosis. Like any like slight change can set you off.
and Josh is like a transient, basically. He's always in a state of change.
Yeah.
He does not have a stable foundation in his life to so that he can actually heal. He doesn't
Yeah.
have the opportunity for a stable routine. He doesn't have the resources he needs to heal.
Yeah, and that's like our main focus right now is like getting him like in like a rehab like facility kind of like institution thing, so he can get like on a regular
Have a schedule.
schedule. Yeah.
Sure. And alternatively, or at the same time, you could create that for yourself by having a stable, safe living situation, a healthy, happy home.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. It feels really good.
Good. So you're cultivating that, but at the same time, you're going to want tools to help deal with him. And you're already dealing with him in an effective way, but I think that we can do a little better.
Yes. I agree.
Good. So you need to interact with every person at face value and recognize that even though this, isn't the real Josh, this is the real Josh for now. You need to
Yeah.
accept that this is what you have to work with. And I think that your love story is really beautiful, because like this is a huge testament of unconditional love. And I think that's insanely powerful and extremely beautiful. And it's not your job to set him free. It's just your job to love who you love and to accept that. Like, it doesn't matter that your man has a mental disorder. It only matters that you love him. And you can see that your love for him is growing, and it's growing the solution to his healing. The solution to his healing is the next best thing or very powerful thing you can do is provide a loving environment, which, a seminar is not the permanent solution, but it hinted to something. If Josh had a really high, happy, supportive, loving environment that was consistent, he could actually work through this. He could calm down the episodes. He could work through it. But in the meantime, he is experiencing being kind of trapped. And that's not the reality, but it's the reality he needs to work his way out of. And it sounds like, that's what the two of you are working on, is cultivating, building, growing something safe, a firm foundation.
Yeah. I watched like this YouTuber who has schizoaffective disorder. And she's great. Like it's a Living Well with Schizophrenia is the YouTube channel if you want to check it out. But she has a very, very solid support system, and she does a really good job at keeping like any like psychosis like at bay. So that has definitely given me like, okay, it's very possible. Like that's like what we need. That's our next step. So yeah, it's been really tough.
There's no way for us to access deeper healing here yet until you lay the foundation for it.
Yeah.
I can't reach in and pull out the core block until the foundation is laid out. And we've pointed to it, but there's no way you're going to get access to it until you've built trust.
Yeah.
And that trust is that system, that safety. He's not going to open up and into the place where he needs to be. He's not going to be vulnerable until he feels safe. So that's a really important part of healing, is safety. And if you're feeling really attacked, or you're feeling like it's not safe, there's no way you're going to open up and be vulnerable, because you would just open yourself up to further psychosis.
Yeah.
So it's building that trust with Josh and building that security and that foundation. And that's something that you've already been doing every day.
Yeah.
So can you see that your love has already been manifesting his healing?
Yes.
And your love is what's growing that apparatus of healing that he needs in order to be able to relax more, open up more, and take the next steps on his healing journey. Because the YouTuber you're watching, it sounds like she doesn't really, even though she keeps it at bay all the time, it sounds like she doesn't suffer very much unless she would put down all of her, tools, but she's not going to do that.
Yeah, like if she had this work, I bet she would be ready to heal. Like,
Well, it sounds like she's doing really well, and the work that she's doing is healing her. And it is that developing a new, like, I want to say pattern, but habit, new habits of mental hygiene, and developing that mental discipline that she needs to be healthy, because it is that mental discipline. It is that habitual, like life and lifestyle that keeps her in good order. Josh doesn't have access to that. He can't possibly. He's, you guys are like don't have a foundation yet, but you're working on it.
Yeah.
And, the responsibility doesn't lay squarely on your shoulders to help him. It's on God's shoulders. And your responsibility is just what's in front of you, what you're capable of doing, and what your heart calls you to do. So I want to kind of conclude with this, and we can, start to wrap up and start taking questions from the audience. And I've got some other questions that the audience has already asked. I want to get to at least one or two of those. But and thank you very much, Marlee, for opening up and sharing and joining us here. Your love for your twin flame is what is paving the way and what has been already paving the way to help you guys come together more deeply and more intimately and provide him the healing that he needs so that he can safely open up and heal. You don't need to have known any of this spiritual work. You don't need to have known any of this lingo. You don't need to know anything but one thing. And that one thing is your love for him. That's it. And can you see how your unconditional love for your twin flame has been paving the way all along for your deeper togetherness and intimacy?
Yeah.
Good. Is that enough?
Yes.
Good. And you can see that that's enough, that your unconditional love for your twin flame is enough to bring you together. It's enough to bring him the healing. It's enough to create the perfect life for the both of you.
Yeah. Like, that's what brought us into harmonious union. So, yeah.
And this YouTuber is given to you by God as a vision for what, your life and his life could be like.
Yeah.
We're all given tests and trials. We're all given our own challenges to work through. This is your life's challenge. If you want to be with the love of your life, and this man is the love of your life,
Yep.
this is the price.
Yeah.
We don't get to set the price. We don't get to pick the person. God sets the price. God created the person for you. All we get to do is decide, am I going to take the path now or am I going to avoid it right now? That's it. And moving along the path is just unconditional love, nothing else. Beautiful. Anything else, Marlee, before we conclude here with you today?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you want to talk about this today, but I am interested in talking about politics, but if you want to leave that to another time.
I'd like to get some questions from the audience, but I will leave you with one thing on politics.
Okay.
Go watch the Church of Union service on politics.
Okay.
I've stated a lot of views there, and maybe in a future episode we can talk more about politics.
Okay.
And feel free to ask questions as as the audience. So thank you so much, Marlee, for joining us. And I'm gonna scroll on over to the audience and see what questions you got. First, all right, take care. And first, I'm going to yep, bye-bye. First, I'm going to check out a few of the questions that I had already been asked before. And then we're going to get to some of yours. So now's a great time. If you got questions, ask your questions, and I will hopefully get to some of them. So I've got in front of me here a question from Ravati. She says, I would love if we talked more about the working dynamic of divine masculine and divine feminine. How important it is to honor what's appropriate for a divine feminine and for a divine masculine. So I do have, I have talked about this many times before, but let's just take this opportunity to re-explore, reassess this. So my teaching states, and our findings have discovered that you are created with a perfect divine complement. In the vast, vast majority of cases, it is 2 twin flames in a set. It can, in extremely rare circumstances, be up to 7 in a set. In every circumstance, you are always paired with a opposite polarity, opposite divine complement, masculine and a feminine. And your lovers. Now, you never have more than one lover. And in some circumstances, like Shaleia and I, we are a set of 3. We have another divine feminine, but she is not a lover. She is independent. And we've described this as like if we were, if our union was a rose, Shaleia and I would be like two halves of one leaf on that stem. And Grace would be another leaf on the other side of the stem. We're all part of the same rose. Shaleia and I are lovers, and we're like one leaf. And Grace is like another leaf, whole and complete unto herself, and one with God. If she had a lover, it would be the divine itself. You've seen this, like the Dalai Lama is like this. He's a three set. His parents incarnate lifetime after lifetime to either specifically give birth, but usually just to parent him. And that's still twin flames. So the divine masculine, we're going to talk about just this leaf, like what Shaleia and I are, what you probably are too, the divine masculine and the divine feminine. So they are complementary always. And here's how they function. I, as a masculine, give birth to life through me. I express life in a specific way. And it's hard to describe it or talk about it because it's an experiential thing. And so I can only point to it and point to your own experience of it. And that's how I'm going to be able to convey what I need to convey. It's beyond the masculine and the feminine. Divine essences are beyond the physical. It's beyond the emotional. It's beyond thought and in a state of being. So the only way you can see masculinity or femininity is from a divine perspective. Now you can see the gifts of manifested all the way down, like, a manly beard, for example. You say, well, that's a gift of masculinity, or a curvaceous body, a gift of femininity. But the curvaceous body itself, that's not the source of femininity. That's not the feminine energy itself. Feminine energy is deeper than that. Masculine energy is deeper than a beard. It's that energy, and they interact with one another. So the masculine is like a giving energy, and the feminine is a receiving energy. And that's not a one-way street, because once the feminine has received in the center of her being, she fills up inside. And once she's full up inside, she overflows then into the masculine, who then receives her femininity and is filled up inside, who then overflows and is able to give again. And for this reason, this symbiotic, rich relationship is everywhere in creation, because it's so juicy. It's like the yin and the yang, right? They're two parts of one energy, and together they become one energy. And this one energy is how God is and as God is. And God is both masculine, the divine father, and feminine, divine mother. So that's why we can say mother, father, God. Good. So just love your divine counterpart. And I'm going to take one more from this. We go. Another divine feminine, divine masculine. So Carmen asks, I would like to know why we as humans ever chose separation. It was only one choice, right? But why did we continue to choose separation? Thank you. This is the question. And the Bible talks about it. It talks about Lucifer, the fallen angel. It's not an angel who fell. An angel doesn't have that power. Only a child of God could fall. And the Bible story talks about Lucifer being one of the most powerful angels in heaven. And he decides he wants to be God one day, wants to have his own kingdom one day. And this line of thinking, 'cause we're free to do whatever we want, can arise out of an innocent state. Well, I wonder what it's like. God's so wonderful. What would it like if I were God? And that's not a very fun thought. And what would it be like if I had a different kingdom than God's? What would it be like if God's kingdom was not God's kingdom? What if there was a kingdom that wasn't God's kingdom? What if there's God's kingdom and some other kingdom? Well, I should like to see what that's like. And I should begin to explore that. And when God's angels come to say, you don't want to do that, the beginning of separation occurs. Well, actually, I do. I think I'm going to do my own thing now. And so the separation began. And how wonderful he thought his ideal was in pursuing this separate kingdom. And this could be a wonderful idea if it weren't for the laws of the kingdom of heaven. And there's a reason that there are laws in place in the kingdom of heaven. They maintain order. And so in divine truth, there is no separation between anything. All that exists can only possibly exist because of God. And all that exists as one with God. There cannot possibly be something that exists separately from God. So the only way to experience that is to not exist separately from God. And so you must cease to exist to be separate from God. But the problem with that is the cause of suffering. You can't be separate from God because you were created as one with God. So God would never allow you to leave him. And so this experiment of separation, which seemed like such a great idea and got a lot of traction and created the, known and unknown universe, which, by the way, even though we're all experiencing the delusion of separation, this was part of God's plan all along as the next level of creation is what we're experiencing right now. This is the cutting edge of heaven, is heaven on earth, is physical reality too, is new realities to explore and an expanded state of heaven. So God allowed this because he knew that you're not really experiencing the delusion you think you are. And he wanted to expand his heavenly kingdom. And so part of what you see here in the separation is God's plan being manifest. And that's the reality of what's happening. And what's the separation or the delusion is your belief that this is something miserable. This is something painful. And your buy-in into that misery and pain. And so, Carmen's question, why did we continue to choose separation? Well, you tell me. Why would you continue to choose a pattern that's painful? Well, because you haven't really become fully aware of it yet. And so the reality is this is just a reality of which teaches you to become more aware, to expand your awareness. And that's why unconditional love, which is what creates awareness, that gives the solution. So let me take some questions we got here. We got some new questions. Yes, how we separate? 209 comments. All right, fam. We've been busy here. Wait, but the problem is I see only 4 comments. Let me hit the refresh here on this and pull some of your live comments. This is great. This is good stuff. We still have a few minutes here. I can probably take a couple questions. Okay. Let's try a new method here. Refreshing Facebook. Try one more refresh. We'll give it a go. Okay, here we go. I got the comments. Okay. So Akanksha Tawari says, sorry about your name. I do my best. How to feel your feelings if you want to feel, but that feeling involves a lot of physical pain? That's a great question. And that's a question that, I think a lot of people want to know. Is how do you feel your feelings if it involves feeling a lot of physical pain? I had an experience once where I was getting a deep tissue massage. And the masseuse had her elbow on my, like right next to my spine, was grinding up the muscle. And I was like, oh my God. It was such excruciating pain unless I stayed really present with it. When I was really present with that experience, there was literally no pain at all. Now, it required deep presence, deep awareness, deep intimacy with that experience and that feeling. And that's all that pain is. It's a call for attention. I'm experiencing pain. And so the solution is to bring your presence and awareness to that pain because it's communicating something. The pain is not the problem. The pain is communicating a problem. And sometimes it's simply a lack of presence. Pooja Vaid says, how to know if I have any kind of pattern and how to deal with it. You're having a pattern if you're experiencing suffering on repeat. If you're experiencing the same thing over and over again, that's a pattern. And, also a lesson. You deal with it by learning the lessons that the pattern is offering. Just like we saw with Marlee, the lessons will build your foundation, build a healthy environment, so that Josh can have a healthy environment, so that he can safely, work through his issues. So he can have a system in place that of habits that helps him be really healthy. Okay. Polly Doll says, how can I avoid falling back on old fear-based habits in terms of our relationship? Releasing, surrendering, and letting go of control. Thank you, Jeff. How do I avoid falling back on old fear-based habits in terms of our relationship? You got to decide that you don't want them. If you are noticing, well, here is the habit again. You have to have presence. You have to have, there's that moment, maybe this is the Wahe Guru moment where you're like, oh, I am aware that I'm doing the thing again. And you have a moment to decide, am I going to make that choice and go into this again? Or am I going to make a different choice and say, no, I am not going to do this again? And it takes strength because it's a whole lot of meanings. Because now you're no longer going to get the thing. You're not going to get the gift that your pattern gives you, which is the pleasure, right? On the opposite side of pain is pleasure. And so you might think, well, I want to experience a lot of pain so I can experience a lot of pleasure. No, you don't. No one wants to experience pain. It's not worth it. This is why we as humans are programmed more so to avoid pain than to pursue pleasure. Because if the pursuit of pleasure creates pain, it's not worth it. Some of us haven't figured that one out quite yet. You have to have the maturity and the discipline to say, I know there's pleasure there, but that's going to cause me pain. So I'm going to divorce myself from both pain and pleasure and seek the infinite bliss of communion with the divine. And the discipline to reject that pattern of the world. We have time for a couple more here, so we get a fresh one. Why a lot of times, says Rosie O'Neill, does the feminine wake up first? I don't think that that's true, but 80% of my YouTube audience, I know because I can look at the analytics, are females. People who have identified in their whatever Google tracks as female. It's because females throughout human history have become very interested in relationship. That is a role of the feminine and feminine and female body have become synonymous in history. It's not always true, but the reason is because history and your divine masculine or divine feminine role and relationships are really important. Your romantic, interpersonal relationships, intimate relationships, very important to females, to the feminine. So why are they waking up first? They're actually not. They're just pursuing this spiritual information first because it is relationship based, I believe. Now, if I had just a straight spirituality channel, I would maybe have more insight in New Age spirituality if that was 50-50 or more female. I'm not sure. It's not because you're feminine, you're waking up first, I believe, because I see just as equally awakened men too, masculines. Sami says, I'm going to do this in one more question. What is the real reason that your twin flame is hiding, although you're healing with the mirror exercise? Ooh. What's the real reason that your twin flame is hiding, although you're healing with the mirror exercise? And we'll conclude on this. It is a spiritual journey that we take to be with our twin flame, a spiritual journey. And your twin flame or your twin flame person, until it's confirmed and you have, an intimate, harmonious union, they're there as a mirror and a guide. Remember that they're your highest teacher and student. your best friend, your greatest partner and ultimate lover, in that order. First, they're your teacher, and they're going to teach you the rules of how to be together, how to be close to them, how to have that intimacy of that connection. And if you knew how to do it, you would have it. It's very simple. If you knew, then you would have. Once you know, then you have. It's the same with health and money and success and awesome relationships, everything. Once you know, then you have. Once you know the energy, the vibration, then you will have it. And your twin flame or your twin flame person is mirroring to you the lesson that you must learn right now. And that lesson must be mastered. There's no quick trick. Now, there is manipulation, so you can manipulate reality, your powerful divine creator, so that you can experience temporary closeness with them at the cost of a lot of pain. That's not what I teach. There's a lot of twin flame talkers out there who will teach you how to do that, and they're experiencing a great deal of success in creating an enormous amount of misery while you get the illusion of having your twin flame around. Not what I teach. I teach the real thing. And the path is a spiritual path. You must cultivate a spiritual practice and spiritual discipline, because that's the only thing that's going to give you a spiritual awareness and insight and knowing, and create a spiritual romance, a high, divine, amazing, ultimate romance with your ultimate lover. That's the only way. So I wouldn't worry about if they're not talking to you. I know it's a challenge that a lot of you go through, but I say work the process and you will have your harmonious union and your life of perfect love and joy. So that is all the time we have for today. Please tune in next week at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thursdays, every Thursday in the Twin Flames Universe Open Forum. Check out the links below if you're watching this on YouTube. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you all next week. Take care.